everyone, and welcome to the second session of Fantaisie Impromptu. Let's dive right in. We're going to divide in section like we did before. We'll divide the part here because it starts again here, right? Let's split it into 3 sections in this second section. Then we can divide it here. Here, this is the melody, until here, and then continue similarly, but changes slightly. We'll divide it here, until here, and then starts over again. So we'll break it into 3 sections and practice them. Let's learn the left hand. This is an F sharp minor chord with the bass note on A. Normally, an F sharp minor chord is played like this: F sharp, A, C sharp, but with the bass on A, it still includes all the ingredients: F sharp, A, and C sharp. We play it twice and then move on to the B7 chord. This is B7 chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So B7 chord is like this, but it took out the D sharp and put in the B. After that, we play the E chord, which consists of E, G sharp, and B. So this one is E chord. This pattern repeats: F sharp minor, then B7. In this B7 chord, before 1 was D sharp was removed, but this time we remove F sharp and add D sharp. So instead of the F sharp, we now have D sharp, like this. So before here was F sharp, but this time here is D sharp. You need to know this. And then the E, it's the same thing. So up to here, and then move on the right hand. The melody is this. It's on your right thumb, like this. So you practice like this. This section is easier to synchronize with both hands than the first section we learned. So you practice like this. Let's first look at the right hand by itself. The melody appears in octaves, and in the middle we have B sharp and C sharp, which remain the same. Now here, it changes to F sharp and A. Again, it's the same pattern, but with slight variations. It repeats what we practiced earlier. Focusing on the right hand, E sharp, F sharp is twice repeated. But once it's this one in the middle, and then it changes to B, D sharp. The middle part is different, right? So in this part, the melody EF, it was like this, but it changes to like this. You need to use your wrist for this too, like this. Gently make your wrist follow your fingers. Keep in mind, when playing this part, the melody should stand out, and the other notes should be played softly. This means you need to relax your hand so that the other notes are quieter, allowing the melody to shine. Playing like this won't sound beautiful, and you won't be able to play fast either. So, in order to bring out the melody, the rest of the notes should be soft so that the melody can be heard. Then, just like before, practice this the same way, and after that, break it down into smaller parts for practice. Like I said earlier, this one is easier to coordinate both hands than the first one. So after practicing all the way through, then it's the same, right? It's the same, but let's see what the difference is. In the previous section, the accent was on the thumb, but here it's on the pinky, like this, right? The dynamics also change from mezzo forte to mezzo piano, like this. The reason for these differences is that we don't want the repetition to sound the same every time, so we have a different expression to make it more interesting. It's also to let people know that we divide the parts, right? And then it changes a little bit after that. It starts with the same F minor chord, but then it changes to D sharp here, and finally we have the G sharp 7 chord, right? So the G7 chord that we learned before, the B sharp, is now moving here. And now the right hand melody moves up to D sharp, right? Then the middle part changes to DF. There are a lot of people who play like this. It's not like this. It changes here. Let's move on to the third part. If we divide into more detail, we can split it into 2 parts. Then let's start learning from the latter part. There's a reason for this. If you look at this part, the left hand D sharp, F sharp is the same, but this note, left hand, is going down half step, like this. We check that. Now, here, it's the same as the first part, but it's a little different here. This part, this one done twice instead. Earlier, it went like this, but this one, it repeats same, okay? Then the melody of the right hand changes only at the end. Then there's ritardando. Chopin was one of the composers who used rubato a lot. That's why just keeping the beat precise might not be very Chopin-like. So, with the ritardando, you need to be able to control the beat freely, like this. First of all, it's different for someone who doesn't know the beat to just play randomly than someone who knows the beat and can adjust it accordingly. You need to know the basic tempo and be able to adjust it freely. So, as it gets softer, do ritardando and then return to a tempo. What is this, everyone? It means returning to the original tempo, starting again at the original speed. Got it? So after going through mezzo forte, mezzo piano, and then piano, we return to a tempo, and that part comes up again. Let's also learn the latter part here. It's the same as what we learned in the beginning. But then it changes at this point. Let's learn here. This one feels like it's going up gradually. The end, this part cuts off, right? Let's learn this part slowly. The left hand plays F sharp, G sharp, and the right hand ascends with E, F sharp. It goes up like this, then comes down. If you look at here, it goes up to A, then G sharp, after A. The B sharp doesn't keep going up. There's not enough space, so it goes down 1 octave, then G sharp, A, B sharp, then C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, F, double sharp, right? And then it ends with a G sharp. This gives the sense of rising energy and development in the music. It's the same on the right hand. If you look here, it's F sharp, G sharp, and A. Finally, we have the C sharp minor chord, followed by the G sharp 7 chord. The C sharp chord is the one we learned earlier. It's the same, right? It's the C sharp minor chord that we learned in the very first session. The G sharp 7 chord appears frequently, as we discussed before. I mentioned that following C sharp, this is the second most important part. So the G sharp 7 chord appears the most after that. So this is G7 chord, but we place the bass note on D sharp. So this is also a C sharp chord, but place the bass in E. So the chord is C sharp minor chord, G sharp 7 chord, C sharp minor chord, and you can see it's going up, right? Then let's do the right hand. The right hand, it goes like this, and this comes out. Everyone, this is a chromatic scale. A chromatic scale, this is a regular scale. An array of notes with rules is called a scale. A chromatic scale is a scale made up of chromatic notes. What's a chromatic? Your nearest note is called a chromatic. So this is a chromatic scale. Like this, the nearest notes. The nearest notes from C is this. So again, this is a chromatic scale. Right? It's like this. You can only look at the first and last notes of the chromatic scale. You don't need to look at the other notes. You just have to follow the finger number. It's a chromatic scale from E to down to F sharp. So you don't need to look close every single note. Just look at the finger number. It ends at F sharp, and it ends here too. From E to down to F sharp. Just check the part that starts and ends. Then we play a strong forte, and it's the same here. This is a chromatic scale too, right? It's the same for this one. So just follow the finger numbers and focus on the first and last notes. The first note is G sharp, and the last note is end at F sharp. It ends at F sharp here. And this part isn't a chromatic scale, right? And after it, Mi, Re, Do, Sol, Sharp. So you just need to follow your fingers' numbers, but you have to look at the sheet though. Why? Because you have to keep your finger numbers. So E number 3, C sharp number 3. So memorize 3, 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4, 3. This. Number 3, 3, 4, 3, 4, 3. You can coordinate like this. But more important thing is a beat. The left hand play together with this D. This C sharp and E is same. The outer notes are opens up half step. Look carefully here. If you can't reach it, you can play it by arpeggio. You can use pedal here too. Here, you can't just think, I'll play it together here. You have to count the beat. It's like this. You can divide it into 4 chunks. So, you need to know exactly what the first note is. Because of this breath, many people miss the beat, either go too fast or too slow. So with clapping, it has to be perfectly aligned. So you practicing like this. If it doesn't align, it won't work. Practice right hand separately and try both hands like this. Do you understand? You have to count it like this. You need to count the rhythm like this. You can't just wait for whenever the note D comes out and then match it. Got it? So practice this part with counting. The same goes for this one. This comes out. Mi, Do, Sol. What is this, everyone? C sharp minor chord. C sharp, E, G sharp. It's just the way the C sharp minor is arranged as octaves. So this is the left hand line. But the same line is in the right hand also hidden. But the part you need to match both hand is A, its third finger. So you need to play like this, but when you practice at first, you practice as a block chord. Like this. Okay? You practice like this with the right hand. And then you practice up to this short chunk. So as you practice like this, you might feel certain parts that aren't working well for you, everyone. You practice dotted rhythms a lot, right? It's this. Why do we do this rhythm practice? You know why? It's to play evenly. The reason for practicing dotted rhythms is to ensure that all the notes are played with even timing, so that none are too long or too short. But you can't just practice it like this. It won't be effective. So make sure to play it precisely and then practice the reverse dotted rhythm like this. You need to know exactly what it is. The reason we practice this is to help us play faster. First, since it's difficult to play quickly all at once, we break it down into sections and practice each part separately. Practice going here first, then going next one. If this works, next. If this works, next. You move on to the next, gradually adding each section one by one. Got it? You need to clearly understand what exactly you should be practicing. When increasing speed, you need to practice each part separately like this, gradually building it up. The chromatic scale is here. At first, you match each part separately. You break it down into one beat, practice this part separately, and the same with this one, grouping them into 4-note sections like this. Practice grouping the 4 sections together and work on increasing speed. Continue building up like this and stretch them out all the way to here, okay? Then you'll be able to increase the speed quickly. And then we're going to get into this slow part right here, and we're going to get into this D-flat major part in the next time. See you soon!